Many of you asked me this question about something written by James Clear, I think it was, on Twitter, which related to his take on what people really work for. And you asked me what my take on it was. Do I agree with what he was saying or not? My take on it is not so much a question of agreeing or not agreeing. I think I do agree with what he's saying. But my take on this is very simple, which is that the degree to which you are clear about what you want out of life, to that degree, you will be satisfied with what you get from life. And also, a corollary to that is that to that degree, you will be able to determine your own future with regard to what's important for you, what's not important for you, and take the right decisions. Sometimes when I'm teaching career management, I say to people, money problems are not money problems even when they are money problems. Money problems are not money problems even when they are money problems. Because, and this is a line I got from one of my colleagues who used to work with me in GE Crotonville. That's his line. Money problems are not money problems even when they are money problems. And that is true because usually when people are talking about their careers and so on, if somebody is complaining that my salary is not enough, usually what's behind that is something which is very much more than or different from the salary issue. Now, it is true that in some cases it really may be difficult to make ends meet, and so somebody is talking about money. But then when you think about that, think about the people who work in any kind of missionary organization, not necessarily religious missionaries, any kind of missionary organization. Somebody is working with a missionary zeal, as we call it. Their least concern is money. They are willing to put up with all kinds of hardships in order to achieve their goal, and money doesn't even come into consideration, even though when you want to go out to the market and buy eggs and potatoes, you need money. Your passion will not buy them for you. Now, the same thing I'm applying here, whether you want to use those James Clear's words or what. When people are talking about satisfaction or dissatisfaction with their work, when somebody is saying, I like my work or I do not like my work, the way you would approach it is to help them to understand what is it about your work that you like. And then look at why do you like that? Because if the reason you like what you like about your work relates with what you really want from life, then you find that you will be very satisfied. I was working in Guyana in South America from 1979 to 83. My salary was not worth talking about. But I was in my 20s, I was 22 or 23. I was in the boondocks. I was living in a mining town, on the bank of the Berbice River, in the middle of the Amazonian rainforest. The nearest habitation from there was 200 kilometers away, in any direction. And in some directions, much more than that. The way how you got there was drive 200 kilometers from Georgetown to the bank of the Berbice River, then take a boat across the river. There wasn't even a road across the river. You took a boat across, or depending on who you were, and I was among those, then you honked and somebody saw you on the other bank and they sent out a barge and you drove your car onto the barge, and then the barge took you across the river. So it was not easy to get in, it was not easy to get out. The telephone was an item of decoration in my living room. It never worked. In the 5 years that I lived in Guyana, in Kokwani, I don't think my phone worked even once. And forget about international calling. My whole family was in India. I was alone 5 years in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. But I was deliriously happy. I was so happy, you can't believe it, because I would wake up in the morning and I would sit on my veranda while it was still almost dark, and I would hear the booming call of the howler monkeys announcing that the day is about to begin. And then it would be followed by flights of macaws, scarlet and other different kinds of macaws, flying in pairs, talking to one another. Macaws and geese, these are two great talkers, and of course there's no geese there, but macaws flying to their feeding grounds in the rainforest. God knows, the fruit trees somewhere and whatnot, because that's what they eat. I hear those calls. I hear the whistles of the toucans when they are calling to each other. This was my morning. This was my morning every morning. I was deliriously happy because I was in my 20s. I resented authority. I resented being told what to do. So here I was in the middle of nowhere and no one would tell me what to do. I was free. I was getting an income which was enough to keep my body and soul together. I had a car. Don't worry about the fact that this was a beat up Land Rover which had seen more life than I had seen. And yellow, open tray at the back. But it had power to climb trees if you wanted to climb trees, and four-wheel drive, winch on the front. In the back, I would have an axe, a machete, a chainsaw, pulleys, ropes. It was a mining vehicle, so it had all of that stuff in it, and came in very handy when I needed to get across to some place or driving through the bush. I had a flat-bottom boat, which I got one of my friends to build for me. An Evinrude 25 HP outboard motor on the back of that, and a wonderful friend called Peter Ramsing. And Peter and I would take off practically every single Friday, and we'd be gone until Monday morning. Up the Burbis River, sometimes 100 miles up the Burbis River. Now, we weren't counting, there were no meters, but this is our estimation. Nobody, no human being, to the best of our knowledge, anywhere around us. I was very happy. The money I made, zero. My savings in 5 years in Guyana, zero. Not because I was profligate, not because I was drinking it up or something. I didn't drink and I didn't spend money. There wasn't anything to spend money on in Kokwani anyway. I just didn't have enough money. The money I had was enough to pay the salary of Naomi, who was my housekeeper and a wonderful, wonderful lady, who used to clean the house, used to take care of all my clothes and everything else. She'd cook food, and then she would sit there at the table with me and make me eat. She said, "You're too bloody skinny, eat." I wish I had remained skinny. Now what am I trying to tell you? I'm saying that I was very happy because I was clear in my head about what I wanted out of life, and that was freedom. I wanted to be free to do whatever I want. That didn't mean I did some freaked out things. It didn't mean I did something very different from what I would have otherwise have done. No. It is just that I made the decisions and I wanted to be free to make the decisions. In my life, I've been clear about two things. Number one, freedom. Number two, knowledge. It has been enormously and continues to be enormously important for me to be learning all the time. As long as I'm learning, I'm very happy. When I stop learning, I become very frustrated. As long as I have freedom to do what I want, I'm very happy. When somebody tries to dictate to me, I become very unhappy. I've reached a point in my life where there's not that many people who try to dictate to me. And if they try, they're not very successful, believe me. But I had to go through the mill to get here. So being clear about what you want. And the earlier you become clear, the happier you will be, because then you will guide yourself on that path which takes you to your happiness. So that's my answer to the question about James Clear, is to say, get clarity about what you want. So if you say that somebody, when they are looking for designation, they are really looking for significance in life and so on and so on, well, all that is fine. I don't want to get into another whole bunch of words. I just want to say this to you, that become clear, and your students, try to get them clear about what they really want out of life. And the way to do that is to ask yourself and say, what gives you the greatest satisfaction? What gives you the greatest satisfaction? Money, career progress, designations, whatever, are all tools. They are not the goal, they are not the aim, they are not something that you work for in itself. These are all things, these are means to get somewhere. Right? So I hope that is clear. Thank you very much.